Look, a city's like any other spiderweb. There are sticky strands and there are clean strands. You stay on the clean strands, you don't get caught, and you have a good foothold in case you need to cut something loose. Hello, and welcome to my new lore video on Werewolf the Apocalypse. In the last video, we talked about the Get of Fenris, and in this video, we'll talk about the Glasswalkers. The Glasswalkers are werewolves unlike any other. Steeped in technology, human religion, and the ebb and flow of the city, the Glasswalkers live and die by a creed of progress. They have largely abandoned the ancestral ways in favor of a cutting-edge, always adapting, blend of technology and shamanism. While they fear the apocalypse as any werewolf, they believe that each passing day makes them stronger, that every new invention may be appropriated for their cause, and that every new philosophy might strengthen their resolve. The other tribes often call them Ara, or Tainted Ones, but the children of Cockroach won't give up the advantages of modern achievement just to repair their reputation. In this way, Glasswalkers are the quintessential city wolves, and don't have the strong aversion to humans that most Garou do. According to tribal legends, the Glasswalkers began as monitors of humanity on orders of another tribe we'll discuss in the future, the Silverfangs, who became intrigued by humanity's creativity and guile. In the earliest incarnation, the Glasswalkers were known as the Warders of Men and inhabited the region in the Middle East that would eventually become Palestine. Evolving side by side with the human inhabitants, the tribe further adapted to city life. When the great Western civilizations like Rome and Carthage arose, the Warders moved in and adapted further, relishing the Greek philosophies and competing with both the Silverfangs and the various vampire factions for power. This attracted other members of the tribe, resulting in a major migration from the Levant to Italy. The Warders mainly focused on the Roman military and its expansion into foreign lands. During this period, the Warders of Men became better known as City Warders, or simply Warders. The City Warders insinuated themselves into the church in order to protect themselves from the more powerful leeches that dominated the cities and prospered in the learning centers of medieval Europe. Various warders also tried to make the church more Gaian, introducing icons of Mary as icons of Gaia, and even extended into rural landscapes in the form of monasteries as places of peace and reflection. Other warders, like those living in the Levant, adopted Islam instead. During the Renaissance, the prevailing camp within the city warders was called the Tetrasamians. The Tetrasamians were alchemists, first formed at the court of the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II in Sicily. The Tetrasamians were heavily influenced by humanism, wanting to create a Garouism for werewolves that would champion the rationality and responsibility of the Garou. By balancing the various aspects of their souls, which were modeled after the Greek gods and the triad, the weaver, the wild, and the worm, a werewolf would understand both the struggle they had to wage and their place in it. The camp, and by extension the tribe, was modeled much like a mystery cult during this period. The tribe also began to drift apart during these days as more and more Tetrasamians traveled to the New World to make their fortune. Inspired by the ideals of enlightenment, many of these called for a dissolution of the concept of a tribe, seeing it as distracting from the purpose of combating the worm. The Tetrasamians later perished when they sacrificed themselves to defeat a powerful bane that had awakened in the industrial landscape of England. During the Victorian Age, the city warders became known as Iron Riders, referring to the railroad they used to travel to the western frontier in the New World. Rising to prominence due to their involvement in the colonies, the Iron Riders finally found common ground with the rest of the Garou nation in fighting the native pure tribes, which I will also discuss in future videos. Following the Industrial Revolution, many Iron Riders dedicated themselves to reducing the harm caused by new technology and the new banes they created. In the 1900s, the Iron Riders changed their name to Glasswalkers, in reference to the vast skyscrapers being built in the modern world. These frequent name changes have caused other tribes to say that this proves the Glasswalkers have no pride in their identity, but the Glasswalkers would argue their identity lies in adaptation. The Glasswalkers' fascination with human achievement carries through to their tribal customs. They borrow political structures from human governments and corporate organizations, bind spirits into technological devices to create techno-fetishes, create artworks and incorporate fashionable trends and techniques, even preserve some of their tribal lore in encrypted hard copies, rather than keeping to the oral traditions. These practices can give them a much-needed edge. After all, most of the forces of the worm, especially the black spiral dancers, haven't adapted to the modern times quite as well. But their focus on humanity and its works has also weakened the Glasswalkers in some ways. They have few wolf bloodlines left to them. Some of their lupus children find the tribal ideas too confusing and seek refuge with other tribes. They treat their Garou-born well, but the number of them in the tribe speaks to a very human tendency to make, at least in the eyes of the Garou and their litany, bad romantic decisions, quote-unquote. The Glasswalkers also have more enemies than most tribes. Vampires are thick in the cities and don't care to have urban werewolves muscling in on their turf. Glasswalker theurges are often over-specialized. They're masters at dealing with spirits of electricity and the Weaver, but have more difficulty with older spirits of Gaia or the wild. If the Garou as a whole have trouble balancing their wolf and human natures, the Glasswalkers are a particularly skewed example. Some say the tribe's in danger of forgetting that they're Garou. It may even be true for some, but the rest make very dangerous enemies of the worm. They establish urban cairns that give their territories a centralized, organized source of spiritual power. They've made an art of sabotage and delight in monkey-wrenching companies or organizations that prey too heavily on Gaia's creation. They followed enough data streams and paper trails to assemble a more complete picture of the worm-controlled company Pentex and its activities than any other tribe possesses. The Glasswalkers know how the system works. They know how to pull strings, and when the time's right, they still remember how to use their fangs and claws. In the next Werewolf the Apocalypse lore video, we'll talk about the Red Talons tribe. I make World of Darkness lore videos multiple times a week, so if you enjoy what I do, please consider subscribing. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Now ask yourselves this, Garou, when will you rage?